Well, hello traders and investors. I'm Ellie Little and this is your daily NeoTA wrap. Take a look at these markets, doing it from a neoclassical perspective. That means we're looking at supply and demand on charts, asking ourselves each day what happened. What does it tell us about the coming ones? Do this show 4 times a week, every Monday through Friday. It's Monday through Thursday, broadcast at or before 10 o'clock Eastern Time, archived on YouTube under the channel Ellie Little. If you haven't subscribed and you want to, just reach up in the right hand corner and do so. Anytime push content, you'll get a notification of that. As far as what happened today, let's take a look at the ending numbers here, see what we got. It was a very quiet day, actually, consolidation day for the most part, but you actually saw the NASDAQ, the NDX, working its way higher. NDX 0.65, NASDAQ 0.5, so that was where the juice was today. Technology after the bell, IBM. IBM comes out, beats the numbers. That looks pretty good. IBM up about, I think it was about $2, so nothing big, just a little bump. Netflix gets hit pretty hard, down 16%, I believe it was. I saw the VMC up pretty big, about 9%, and that was the main ones that I saw after hours. So a mixed bag, right? We saw a mixed bag this morning. Bank of America up, JB Hunt down, Hasbro down. But with the market as strong as it is, with this huge push up, it's going to take more than one or two numbers, or a mixed bag to really turn this market on its head. So up across the board here, up across the board in Asia, a little pullback, very small pullback in Europe, and then you saw mixed numbers in terms of bonds, commodities. One thing that you keep seeing is the XLB head higher, and so that is a different picture than what we'd seen before. If we move over, take a look at the markets. Ever since we got that break over 2103, this thing is just taken off. All right, so the break was back here, the push up on this little gap up, and you get a gap up every single day since. So that Friday, the gap up on the employment number, and then after that, gap up every single day. Now, we haven't made any progress the last 3 days, but it still is gapping up each day, hanging up here at the highs, wanting to try to go higher. If you look at it from the perspective of the weekly chart, there we have that famous 2100 number. We'll use this tool to show it. So we had that 2103 number there. And as we broke above it, right, just took off, and it was a gap up each day on the daily, and just a continuation move higher. Volume tailing off as we go higher, but that's usually what happens, so I don't know that that's really anything to be that concerned about. Eventually, it will try to come back, and we'll get a retest and a regenerate attempt. But right now, it's trying to do an ABCD structure on the daily time frame higher, and if you draw that in, just for visual here, you got the A, B, C, D, so A to B point, that's where you get the pullback, and then you've got the B to C that takes you up into this area. So still wants to try to get up there, hasn't got there yet. It's about 2190 if you're counting. As far as what else is happening, as I said, the big news today was the NASDAQ and the NDX. That's not where we've seen strength before. We haven't seen these lead. We're kind of at the tail end of this move probably, and they are the ones trying to take us higher, and that's a good thing, right? So you got every one of these pictures look the same, ABCD structures on the upside, and they're all pretty much set up the exact same way, about the same amount of distance in terms of percentages to the top side. NDX, same picture, again, volume slowly trailing off, but again, I don't know that that's anything to be that concerned about. And if we move to the Russell actually was the stock or the index that took us higher first. So the Russell's ABCD already completed. That it completed here, and you see it consolidating after that completion. Now, if we move over and take a look at the OX markets, in particular zeroing in on the dollar has got that big bump up, right, off the Brexit news here. Consolidation at these highs, and just doesn't want to give it up. Now, it is starting to form a little ABCD structure inside this. So you got a little small ABCD that if you actually do the numbers on this and carry it forward, it's going to take us up to that halfway point in that large range that we've talked about. So if I pull this back, show you the range, you'll see what I'm talking about there. So let me pull this back. We'll do a weekly on it. And the weekly, you can see the range a little bit more clearly. and it essentially is from these lows down here up into this area, right? That'll ABCD structure take it right up into the top of that range. You got another half of the range up above. So that's where the tail of the tape is going to be when it comes to the currencies. And you can take this and work it back the other way. Go look at the two major portions of the dollar index. The FXE looks like it's going to try and work lower, and you can see it here. And then if we look at the FXY, the dollar has been rising against the FXY, pushing that FXY lower. If you go all the way to the monthly chart, which was kind of interesting, if you come back to here on the FXY, what you're going to see is that bearish retest regenerate right there, right? More than 6 bars, comes back into it, test into it, actually test almost to the top, at least gets halfway into it. And what is it doing now? Trying to push back. It's going to try to push back into the swing point high probably. That's that bar and this bar are the two areas that you want to look at. So if you draw it across, that's where it's going to try to pull back to. Of course, that's going to put juice into the Japanese index if you're interested in that. Or if you want to just be shorting the yen, that's the trade here as well. So, but again, the neoclassical tail here is fairly clear as to what's happening. You retest, now you're going to try to regenerate lower because it was such a big move on the monthly. A retest lower here is simply going to be a push back into the lower part of this range. So that's the way that one shapes up. If we look elsewhere, another thing that's been happening is the oil market. We had that coup attempt on Friday, and that pushed oil up, that pushed commodities up in general, that pushed the bonds up. It also pushed the indexes down, but it didn't last. And as you can see here, it certainly didn't last in the oil market. Oil market started to sell off almost immediately, and that curl that we talked about is still going on here. This thing is just rolling over slowly back to the downside, and that rollover there is not to be unexpected, right? You had a huge move down, get your bounce. That bounce is about, I don't know, it's about 50 to 68%. And then now you start to roll it back over. And so the test is going to be is when it gets back down into these bars, this area here, what does it do? Does the buyers come in? Does it look like a good buy finally? Or is there really more pain to be had in this market? Folks, the markets are consolidating. They've had a big run. You got a consolidation taking place. Now, you can either work it off in time, or you can work it off in price, or you can work it off in both. Right now, they're working it off in time. Does that continue? My guess is somewhere you're going to get some sort of news. Maybe it's the Bank of the Bank of the ECB, the European Central Bank, this Thursday with their meeting. Maybe it's earnings. I don't know what's going to drive it, but I suspect you're going to see a pullback in here somewhere, just as it looked like it was going to unfold Friday evening. And that had that coup continued, right, and succeeded, you would have seen these markets probably open lower. Would they stay there? Probably not. But that's the sort of thing that one has to expect is going to happen here pretty soon. That's it for tonight. Right now, consolidation, and you don't fight the trend, folks. You go with it. And right now, the trend is up. Have a great one. Take care. Good night.